Hey friends, Kevin Noe here again from Fight Designer LLC. I've got a video that I put a lot of work into, dropping on the iOSP channel, February 14th here. And rather than just repeat it on my channel, I thought what I'd put here is a little bit more of the sort of commentary behind the scenes making of why we did what we did. Because it was meant to be an educational project, and I was teaching some stuff at this workshop about doing previs video, and so I think this is all very apropos. So a quick intro before we get into just kind of the side viewing with me thing. This came out of the 2024 Paddy Crean International Workshop, where I've been involved with him for 25 years now in Banff. 98, 99 winter break was the first time I did that one. And for the last, 12 or so-ish years, I've been trying to be on staff in some way, shape, or form, just so that I can afford to go. I got a scholarship one year, but I've been intern, I've been staff. And one of the things that I've been doing to make myself useful there is video. Sometimes that's running camera for fighting for camera classes with Dave Boucher or Bob Goodwin or others. Sometimes that's been putting together daily sort of highlights reels like we did for the last one before COVID and then this most recent one. And creating that kind of content for everybody's social media, creating trailers, little documentary. We've done a number of things like that in the past with footage. One of the things I wanted to add this year was an all-workshop battle scene. Now, there were a couple things behind this. One was there've been all these little side projects that, the cool kids sneak off and do a little something. That's been going on for ages now at the Paddy Crean, but they wanted to be more inclusive and let everybody in on it, right? And we've seen other workshops do this, stuff like the cheesesteak or recently the Tourist Trap released one. Some of the other regional SAFT workshops have had sort of big battle melee things that came out of it. But also we know that Dion Ford Beavis, the coordinator of the Paddy Crean Workshop, was going to go straight from here to the UK and be stunt directing a battle scene for a Viking movie there, and had some other projects coming up. I think Bryce had some things he was wanting to try as well. A lot of this was his idea. And so wanting to give them a way to practice their ideas as well. But they were not the ones who were going to do it. They were going to have the ideas. And so a couple of things that we ran into. One is just, we realized no one was really in charge. We all kind of thought somebody else was going to come up with the ideas or be able to say, okay, this is what the story is, this is how we're going to shoot it. What we were given, those of us on the video team, was originally pitched the idea of a one-er, where we'd have starting with a battle, people coming out of the trees outside and then moving inside and through different rooms, and doing that as an actual one-er with people dying in one scene, running around, coming in, changing their shoes, going to a different room, doing a whole nother scene, timing all of that out. That would just seem logistically a nightmare. And so I've really, really pushed back hard against that. But I said a fake one-er we could do. And with the one-er also, the POV kind of makes sense as well, because when you're going first person, that gives you a reason why you never have a cut to a reversal or an insert shot or anything like that. Those two go well together. They kind of mandate each other to some degree. If you're first person for the whole thing, if you're just following one character and it's just POV, you have no insert shots, no reversals, no cutaways, no whatever. So in a sense, that makes editing easier. But it also means you have less control to be able to fix things in post. And it also means that you got to have a lot more planning going into how are you going to hide those cuts if you're doing a hidden cut, fake one-er, like we did here. And unfortunately, we didn't really agree on things or have enough time in pre-production. There was no real time set aside for any rehearsals or we grabbed a 10-minute pre-production meeting when we could. But a lot was kind of left hanging. So we did not really get a chance to set up or shoot previews in terms of okay, where are we going to cut from this to this? How are we going to get from that room to that room? So a lot of this we were kind of making up on the fly, or frankly, I was making up on the fly because when no one else was stepping up, then we were all standing around in a room with all the participants ready to go. It's okay, we need to just do this. I'm just going to step up and be okay, this group does this group does that. I'm going to come over here, have something to show me here. Because I also didn't want, we want to be able to showcase the participants. And we didn't want someone to feel oh, we had this really cool thing and no one saw it because you were looking at the other side of the room when it happened. And again, without being able to do editing of insert shots, like most battle scenes are done, you can't just do a quick clip of this, quick clip of that, quick clip of that. If you didn't happen to be looking that way and you went past it, bummer, it's not on screen. So that was very limiting and an interesting technical challenge. But I want to show what we did. Now that you have a bit of a sense of why we did it, how we did it, all of this was one morning with the exception of a couple of quick things, which I'll mention. But we basically had one morning session that was the whole group doing the monster thing, because that had been one of the pillars of the Paddy Crean Workshop was movement studies, and there'd been some creature work that was done from some mocap folks. And then we kind of split off into other groups. People could choose, do you want to be historical European martial arts? Do you want to be in the swashbuckling area? Do you want to be in the bar fight area? Do you want to be we kind of just divvied it up, right? And if you have special skills you want to show. So, with no further ado, let's go ahead and cut into watching the video here. And 3, 2, 1, we'll watch together. So, already from the top here, I'm trying to establish this idea that it's a person's perspective. So we've got like things fading in and out, blinking, whatever. The breath to bring it in, to me, was a nice way to bring it in. That first breath was actually a sound cue that I got offline. And I did have Keith do a voiceover recording, an ADR recording later, but some of those breaths were not from that. So this bit outside here, this was just a quick 10 minutes between lunch and a staff meeting. There were some of us who hadn't gone on screen yet, and also there was a need to set it up. So we just kind of grabbed some time and set this up. Originally we had ideas that the MacGuffin could be a more symbolic thing of Dave Boucher literally handing off the torch, passing the torch to Daniel Vivas, who then has to run it through the room or something. That didn't happen. Spencer really wanted to do this lightsaber thing. He brought the lightsabers. He was really excited about it, but it had a lot of time to post-production because poor Keith had to rotoscope each moment there and more sound effects and all. But and the force thing, I sped it up a little bit on the force grab because that didn't sell well otherwise. Speeding up on a little bit of a push. Bryce helped remind me on that, so thank you, Bryce. So far these first 2 bits have been Keith recording, but one of the things we did here was some handoffs because we had multiple groups recording at once. So when the swashbuckling group ends here, boom, with this hit, bam. Okay, now it's me with an iPhone on a gimbal instead of Keith with his DSLR or mirrorless on a cage rig. We were able to just switch off and multitask, and kind of had to be able to do it on the time frame that we had. So obviously a very tight space here. And different people coordinating each thing in terms of the fights as well. So Claire Llewellyn and Ian Rose were doing the swashbuckling bit. We all kind of threw together on the outside. This one here, I think was primarily Daniel Vivas. Kevin McCurdy might have had a bit to do with this one as well, I can't remember. K-Mac did the fall over the stairs there. And this was, we realized, okay, now we don't know how we're getting into that room. So that is a quick shot there that we did that night, and you can see there's a continuity issue. It goes from daytime to nighttime to now the morning. But again, working with what we had, this is basically what Creed is. I tried to do what I could in color correction, and the stylized choices for each room helped with that as well. So really leaning into, some fake film grain on the swashbuckling one, the kind of creepy green tone to this one, stuff like that. The music is all by the same composer on SoundCloud, but different tracks from him, so that let it be kind of branded similarly, orchestrated similarly, but still we have different musical themes for each genre. You can see this was family friendly. Dave Boucher, ladies and gentlemen, yes. And so this was really trying to get everybody who wanted to on here. I think there's just one person who opted out of being in any of the film or video in terms of image releases and didn't want to be in this. Here's another handoff. So right now this is Keith shooting again, handing the camera under their legs, and now I'm shooting, and you see Keith scoot away. So if you pause there, you'll see me trying to blend in, come in to be able to grab the camera. Little handoff. Again, just trying to, part of this was about showing how these things can be done. And now we had a participant who had twisted an ankle, couldn't do the main thing. This let her play. I'm so glad we found a way for her to be able to do that. That was fun. I believe this was mostly Caleb McCurdy doing this section here. Again, also with Daniel Vivas, who was helping guide. Usually we'd have one person on camera and another person kind of blocking for them and helping guide them because they did the choreography, and we didn't have time for a lot of camera rehearsals or anything. So generally the guide would be behind whoever's on camera saying, okay, look over here. Well, not saying, but a little nudge on the shoulder, leading the dance, right? Lots of sound effects, obviously, added in post. We were very careful not to break anything, so all the crunching of glass and everything else, and clattering of pots and pans and things that you've been hearing throughout this, not real. But it did get kind of intense. That was one of the notes that I got from some people watching this originally. But that's what you get with first person, because you literally do not have any separation between the viewer and the action. You're dropping them right into it. I would have held on this a little less long. That's a filler pattern. And just, filler patterns are meant to be gone by. Filler patterns work better when you got, again, a shot where you got a little here, a little there, because it's getting chopped up enough, it's harder to recognize. When you have a continual oneer, you see the patterns from beginning to end. It's a little bit easier to be like, wait a minute, they're just doing the same thing over and over again. So, is what it is. Jess Finley was, I think Justin Schmalm were running this room. Jess is a tank of that armor. There's no way that she would not be able to mow through any of us in that, but I think she let him win. Obviously some added sound effects there. Boom. And doing what we can to make these things work. Sometimes, we didn't quite cover the camera with these hits, and so I do have to do things like Ken Burns into the middle of it to be able to make it fill, or to make it line up with the before and the after on the punch from Bryce, things like that. Finn's actually great with stage combat and stunts, but his staff job there was as medic, and so we were kind of leaning into that. He taught a workshop on how to look like you actually know what you're doing if you're ever doing being a medic on camera. And then this was the bit that was the last day, the only bit that was the last day, because that's when Danny does his burn. So we were also planning ahead of time. We knew we were going to want to try and work this in to the end. And so that's why we had the knockout, so that we could come back another time of day and look out the window and justify that little time jump. And again, these are all just workarounds I thought of. There's also a handoff where, when you first wake up, that's Keith. But now it's me, and you can actually see Keith out there on the other side of the glass filming that burn. And I'm still, I was still learning my gimbal phone controls, which is why there's issues with autofocus picking up on the glass and zoom, and, only one take on that. I think we had 2 takes on most of the other things, so it was just like, well, which of these, for the most part, worked better? But that's, again, the issue with long shots is you're not going to get the best version of every single person's thing. It's like, overall, which one did the best job? So anyway, fun project. I could dig into more if I wanted to, but I'm trying to keep this from getting too long. But a big thanks to everyone who helped bring me into the Paddy Crean Workshop, where I had to teach as well as do video and camera stuff. And to the video team, Nick Odson, as well as Keith and myself. I don't think Nick actually shot any of this, but he was hugely instrumental in planning it, and post-production and data flow and all that stuff. So anyway, it was a fun thing to work on, and I think a lot of us learned a lot from it, and I hope you all learned something from it too. Let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.